What did a crush do that made you immediately lose interest? He would steal people's tips off the bar counter when we were at a bar together with friends. Then he would offer to buy me food with it. No thank you. Bartender here. I'm confident these people will burn in whatever hell awaits. Also, if you're at a bar with a bouncer, this is an easy way to get your face stinged off the door frame as you're escorted out and told never to come back. Played hard to get. No thanks. If you're gonna ghost me for days at a time and then get pissed off when I don't respond in 0.5 seconds, then that's not my problem. Shows how hard to get can easily turn into hard to want. Yeah, it's a real quick 180. A woman I was talking to was recently divorced and had moved back in with her parents. She already had a child and a couple pets and was talking about getting another pet, and her parents told her no. She chose to go ahead and get another pet anyhow, and basically her parents began pushing her out the door. And it was a stressful situation for her, and I suggested she talk to her folks. However, once she told me she was grown and made her own decisions and did not care about their rules, I suddenly understood and quickly lost interest. She told me her future plans to essentially become a gold digger like her mother. When I laughed it off, she couldn't see what I thought was so funny. Step 1. Maybe don't confront the guy with it like that. Ask me to be their wingman because they had a crush on my best friend. Oof. Same thing happened to me. Then when I moved on, he started being sexually inappropriate and bullied me, only when my best friend and my boyfriend weren't around. To this day I don't know why I was ever attracted to someone like that. Edit, since a few people have been confused. I'll clarify, I was single while into this guy. Then I moved on and got a boyfriend while he was with my best friend. He then kept harassing me. Gave me a 5-minute lecture on conditions where cheating is okay. I doubt that they'll make sense. But I'm curious what the proper conditions are. If your family is being threatened. If it stops nuclear war. If it is you and your partner's fetish, not really cheating. If it saves your life from some life-threatening disease. Yeah. I was casually dating a 19-year-old guy when I was 18. He seemed totally normal until I met him at his house before a date, and his mom asked him to take the garbage out before we left. He threw a fit that would embarrass most 3-year-olds, including crying, yelling at his mom, and punching the floor. I pretended that my parents were calling and needed me to come home. Blocked his number. And never saw him again. I like to think that mom knew he'd do that and was trying to save you the trouble. For context. Him 6 feet 4 inches. Built dude. Me. 5 feet 0 non-built lady. We were hanging out at his house when he jokingly blocked my way when it was time for me to go and wouldn't let me pass. I asked him to let me by. When he wouldn't, I told him I was uncomfortable and he called me a crazy itch. That was the end of that for me. That is a huge red flag. Creepy. Called another clearly beautiful girl ugly behind her back. If a girl she talks others behind their back, I tend to believe they'll do the exact same about me. So that's definitely a no-go. 2 days after our first date, she showed up at my work with a pan of homemade lasagna, a ice cream making machine for my kids, and all kinds of groceries. I was a single dad at the time and I guess it was some sort of care package for me. I also work about 2 hours from where she lives. When I said she didn't have to do that, she started to cry. Bit of a red flag. I had a harmless crush on a married friend that I did not signal or act on. Ever. I've been the spurned wife before. I kept my distance and did everything short of unfriending him on Facebook. He slid on into my DMs right after my separation became public knowledge and he found out I was no longer married. He was still married to his wife, with a baby on the way. I didn't respond. They are divorced now. She's a really lovely person and deserves so much better. I ran into an old crush a few years back who told me he was into dog baiting. The candle had blown out a long time ago as far as my crush was concerned, but that pretty much held any intention I had of trying to restart our friendship. I'll bite. What's dog baiting? From my experiences seeing this sort of shit in the Philippines, you'd have a dog in a cage chained in the middle, and an animal, like a cat or whatever, would be thrown in. The dog is trained to maul the duck out of the victim animal. I believe bets are placed on how quickly or slowly the dog can heal the victim. Guy was academic, hygienic, and sweet. Treated waitstaff appropriately. Spoke formally but still funny. Shared things in common. Me. Perfect gentleman. Date ended 10/10. While driving me home. At a stoplight. Pointed to a homeless man crossing the street. Said I would stop my car for anybody crossing the street. Just not homeless men. Where do they have to be? They're in no hurry. Me thinking, okay, unsolicited and kinda odd. He added another comment, it'd be funny if I run him over. Me. Ghosted him like right after he dropped me off. Poured lemonade on my head in the middle of a fireworks show. She thought it was flirty and cute. Should have poured it on her and asked her if she thought it was cute. I went on 2 dates with a girl when I was in college. She was wonderful but immediately wanted to be official and started drafting Instagram posts about us. She wanted to spend every day together and have sleepovers every night. It was so out of nowhere and we literally knew nothing about one another. I tried to look past it but she asked me to be her first and I got uncomfortable. She seemed naive and I didn't want to take advantage. I suggested we take things slow and she took offense. I cut things off and her reaction was super childish. All of this in a 3-week period. Sweet girl but the pacing was off. Kicked the dog. Instantly lost all attraction. John Wick wants to know your location. Went on a date with the man, they didn't ask me anything about myself. It was completely one-sided like a job interview or something. I'm a guy. By the way. I've been on that date. It's exhausting carrying the conversation. I had a crush on a guy in high school who was a little bit of a rebel. Nothing serious but definitely had a bad boy thing going on. One day in class the teacher told him to do something minor and he flipped out. Basically had a temper tantrum and refused. Totally killed all interest by being an asshole for no reason. Yeah. Sometimes the types who yell FCK the system can be funny from afar. Until they pitch a fit over something minor. I watched a pretty charismatic guy I thought was just BSing around nearly get kicked out of all state choir because he refused to wear his high school's concert attire. He showed up in formal wear. And brought the clothes from his school. But didn't change into them until the last minute just so he could make a scene about how he was sticking it to the man. I wasn't super into him. But he'd been pretty cute and his shtick had been almost endearing at first. After that I wanted nothing to do with him. And I think a lot of people who had just met him there felt the same way. No one really stood up for him during the whole debacle. Co-worker at work had just a beautiful energy. Absolutely lovely to be around. Always smiling at everyone. And she would laugh at my jokes. And she made some comments from time to time that made me feel validated and understood, which was very flattering, like she guessed my passions in life and told them to me. With a big smile while looking me in the eyes. And I'm a reserved guy who doesn't share that stuff. All just very lovely. One day we're in the break room and she's talking to another guy the same way and I'm consciously talking myself out of being jealous. You're not dating or anything, you don't even have her cell phone number, she's allowed to be lovely with other people now, come on, no reason to be jealous. Then when the guy leaves she turns to the girl next to her and says, God, I hate that guy, and I had just been jealous that she was treating him exactly like she treats me. I still feel foolish when I think about it. Like, does she like me or hate me? I've told this story before. But when I was about 8 years old we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. During our lunch break I decided to wander off to the gift shop and see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class and I saw this ladybug ring for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop. So I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends, which made me more nervous. But I found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now. That completely ducked my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her to giving it to her in front of her friends. Which is why she reacted that way. But whatever the case, it's probably the most embarrassed I have been in my life, and it definitely made me lose interest in her. Back in college I was seeing a girl casually. Whenever we'd text, she'd take hours to respond to any message. It wasn't a big deal, since most of the time it was just chatting or setting plans for the following weekend or something. It was a little annoying because it'd take a full day or two to set up plans because of the slow responses. But whatever. I'm a bad texter, so I can't really judge someone for that. But I started to notice that when we hung out together, she'd immediately respond back to any and every text she got. She had some loud song as the ringtone that played for like 15 seconds. And set it so that her camera LED would flash constantly while it rang. Totally obnoxious and made me really notice how often she texted. I casually asked her who she was texting one time, and it was just some friend from school that had sent her a meme. After that I realized it wasn't going to work. Being a slow texter is fine. Constantly texting while hanging out was annoying. But not a deal breaker, especially if we were just chilling at one of our houses. But the realization that this person who was glued to her phone but didn't feel like it was a priority to respond back to my texts made me feel unimportant, so I kinda just drifted away. We stayed friends because we shared the same group of friends and it wasn't awkward or anything. I just stopped trying to do things with just the two of us. He wouldn't talk to me in person for some reason. This is me in high school. Captain Anxiety takes over. This is me at age 31. I have a few. Had no sense of humor. Was really attractive but opened his mouth and was a moron. Treated waitstaff badly. Started dating a buddy who had the courage to ask her out first. Bro code. Also, this was high school. And those crazy kids made it. 12 years later they're still together and married. You sound like a decent dude. Hope things turned out alright for you as well over the years. Crush comes to my house. I explain how I'm slowly remodeling it and my plans for my house. She then starts telling me I shouldn't and I should do it her way. And let her take it over and let her design, decorate, and do it all. The hell I will. We would be great in person. Both of us would have a laugh and genuinely had an amazing connection. But trying to get a text back takes days. It's really difficult to arrange to spend more time together when she barely replies to me. I massively lost interest after this. Met a woman. Thought she seemed cool. We went out to eat. She's telling me about how she fell on financial hard times and moved back in with her parents. The way she described it just sounded like she got unlucky. Not that she did anything irresponsible. It happens. When the bill came I told her I'd pay. She said, "Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm trying to save my money right now." Me, sure. I understand. You want to get your own place again? Oh, no. Actually I mean I'm trying to save up $500 for a tattoo I want to get. I've got nothing against spending money on tattoos. But when you've just spent a first date talking about the financial troubles you have, maybe now's the time to start putting money away for necessities. Not tattoos.